Again, if I were a militant atheist and I knew you were being selective in your supernatural approach, oh, I'd hammer you for that.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I would make you cry. We can make a grocery list of the things that every Christian holds dear. The resurrection. How is that explainable scientifically?
Exactly.
But you know, we know these things are crucial. They define Christianity, and so we're content with sort of not being too critical of them in terms of scientific method. We'll appeal to miracle there, which is fine. No miracle conforms to scientific method, okay? But then we won't do the same thing in other passages. And that's very inconsistent.
Yes.
Now, all it would take, and you say, well, why should I care about this? Again, if I were a militant atheist and I knew you were being selective in your supernatural approach, oh, I'd hammer you for that.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I would make you cry, okay? Because I would make you see that your approach to your own Bible is quite inconsistent. So I know these things you do believe in, these things that you want to be like me and not believe them. Well, that's wonderful. But what I'm asking you is, on what basis do you accept one and not the other?
Yes. Yeah.
What is that basis? And I don't think Christians realize how vulnerable this sort of schizophrenic position is. And lest viewers misunderstand, I'm not the person here that says every supernatural claim must be real because it came out of somebody's mouth.
Sure.
Okay?
Yeah.
I don't believe that at all. I present myself this way. Look, I am skeptical of everything, but I'm willing to believe anything. In other words, I want some reason to believe it. Okay, I want to see how it conforms to a scriptural model, and if it does, if that door is open, hey, sure, I'm willing to accept that. I'm not going to marshal a theological argument that allows me to keep this one supernatural thing and shut the door on yours. I'm not going to do that because I know that's inconsistent.
It's kind of like, we like to believe, like the resurrection, well, that's a happy one. That's a good one. But like, okay, this stuff in Kings and Genesis 6, well, this is kind of dark, this is disturbing.
Right. Why is that weird and the resurrection isn't? What's so normal about the resurrection? How does it, I always get the question, well, how does that work? How does that sons of God, daughters, how does that work? And I'm honest, I don't know. I don't know how it works, and I don't know how the resurrection works. I don't know how the incarnation worked. I don't know how any of that works. Okay, but if there is a spirit world, okay, and this takes you into the whole theology of the nature of supernatural beings, and God is different. He's ontologically superior and unique, but they're not like helpless and void of abilities, okay? So if there is this world that the Bible actually affirms, well, I don't really know how that works, but Scripture affirms that it does and that it did.
And if God put it in there.
Right, and so I'm content to leave it at that. I'm content to leave Genesis 6 be what it is, and some of these other passages, because I'm content to leave the resurrection for where it is and all these other doctrines. And, we've just been taught, a whole huge swaths of the church have been taught to look at this and not look at that, affirm this and don't affirm that. I mean, things in the Bible. And I understand why. It's because in the history of the church, there's been a lot of abuse of things like supernatural phenomena or giftings, or, I'll be the first one to admit the church has a long history of just wackiness and abuse. I get it. But that is not evidence against these things in principle being real, being legitimate, because they did occur in scriptural times and scriptural days in certain contexts. And so we ought to evaluate a claim instead of just either ditching it or, well, somebody said it, so I have to believe it. I mean, those are two
All
extremes.
those people in the ancient Near East, they're all just liars and imagination people.
Well, they would be viewed as less enlightened.
Yes. Yep.
See, and we are products of the modern world. We are products of the Enlightenment, 17th, 18th century. We're products of the scientific method. We have technology. So we are just out of the gate prone to look at a supernatural thing or some event. And we want to explain it away using those tools. And in principle, there's nothing wrong with that because, God knows that's who we are. But at the end of the day, if you go through that process and you just don't want to believe it,
Yeah.
then you have a problem. If it's in the pages of Scripture and it's very evident that the biblical writers believed it,
Yep.
and I'm talking about something about the supernatural world, the world that is beyond the scope of scientific method here. If you look in the page of Scripture and it's very clear that a biblical writer affirmed something about the supernatural world and you just don't like it, the problem is with you.
Yes.
It's not with the text.